do I change the brake-in oil? So first we need to understand, what is break-in inside of an engine. Okay, so we're talking about new parts that have come together, newer rebuilt engine, new parts that are put into an engine. To your eye, they may look really smooth. Some of these surfaces may look really smooth, but under a microscope, in fact, they're not smooth. The surfaces actually, if you look at the surfaces under a very high power microscope, they look more like mountain ranges. So you're going to have two surfaces with mountain ranges opposing each other. And in fact, these mountain ranges are called asperities. The tips of these things are called asperities. So you're going to have like one piece with its mountain ranges coming, facing another piece with its mountain ranges. So asperity versus asperity. And you can see, you do this yourself. Take your fingers and you move them, through each other. You feel like resistance. So these are, tips of mountain ranges touching each other. They're causing resistance, and that's going to happen when you first start up an engine. You're going to have some of these mountain ranges coming in contact with the other mountain ranges. So asperity to asperity contact, and so that's actually fairly normal. But what we want to do during break-in is we actually want to control this process. This is a wear process, and we want to control the wear process to the point where we want to now have, instead of these asperities being like this, we want them to be more smooth like this. So just fold your knuckles over a little bit, and now you have a much smoother gliding of parts over each other. This is called mating in of the parts, when we have a small amount of wear occur on each of the parts, so that now, if in fact there is no high level of lubrication there, that you do have a smooth transfer of face against face, and you're not going to have dramatic wear or seizing of parts. So that's what we want to get to. We want to get to a mated in surface. So we want to go from asperities to a mated in surface, and we want to control that process. And that's what breaking in an engine is we're controlling the wear process. It's really critical to do that, and it's all done through chemistry. And the chemistry is your anti-wear chemistry. You've probably heard of the term ZDDP, that's zinc dialkyl dithiophosphate. That's the zinc anti-wear chemistry that we must have in engine oil to provide protection on the surfaces so that we can control the wear of the asperities, so that we don't have massive tearing off of pieces of surfaces. We're controlling the wear. Contrary to popular belief, putting a ZDP in there does not stop the wear. It controls the wear, even in an engine that's been running for a very long time. However, when you get to mated in surfaces, it's a much different situation than asperity versus asperity. So, we're controlling the wear in asperities versus asperities. Once the engine's broken in and all worn in, we're now in a mated in situation, and it's not nearly as dramatic. So your ZDP basically is controlling a wear situation that is much, much, much less aggressive than you're first starting up the engine with. So chemistry is what we're going to be doing. So that's what breaking in an engine is doing, is we're controlling the wear in process, the breaking in, the mating in process. So we have to be concerned about two different areas inside of the engine for breaking in. We have to be concerned about the valve train, and we have to be concerned about the cylinder liners, the piston rings, that contact point. Let's start with the valve train. The most aggressive situation would be a flat tappet cam. We need to have the proper level of ZDP in the engine for breaking in a flat tappet cam. Roller cams, everybody thinks that you don't need to worry about ZDP for a roller cam. You don't necessarily have to worry about the cam itself. However, the rest of the valve train does see the spring pressure. So we're talking about push rod ends, adjuster cups, where rockers may touch the top of the valve. All those contact points are seeing high levels of stress and potential wear. So we have to be concerned about those, whether it's a flat tappet cam or a roller cam. So number one is the valve train, making sure that we have correct mating into the valve train. In terms of breaking in a flat tappet cam, the best advice I can give is to follow the instructions of the manufacturer of the flat tappet cam as to how to operate the engine during break-in. You know, what RPM levels to run, how long to run them. And typically you should be done in about 10 or 15 minutes of breaking in a flat tappet cam. You'll know when the lash on the, when the valve lash has stabilized. That's when you know that your flat tappet cam is broken in. Okay, so that's the valve train. The other area is your piston rings and your cylinder liners. An area that's quite often overlooked when it comes to breaking in. The big thing there that we have to be concerned about is having the proper level, again, of anti-wear so that we don't have wear forming at the top and the bottom of travel of the piston. In other words, top dead center, bottom dead center. We want to have the piston rings mating in properly to the cylinder liner through the entire movement of the piston. The way to know when the piston ring has mated in with the cylinder liner is through checking. Basically what we're doing is we're checking the pressure within the cylinder. You can do that through blow-by testing, through a leak-down test, or the most basic equipment would be even a compression tester. Your best is a blow-by tester, but when all of that has stabilized to a point where the engine builder is satisfied that the engine pressure is where they want it to be, the rings are now seated in, the valve train's now seated in, we actually no longer need the break-in oil at this point. And we can actually drain the break-in oil and we can move into the racing oil. I do want to show you Mr. Race Oil break-in oil. When we do the change, now Mr. Race Oil break-in oil is blue. That's why the container is blue. It is blue so that you know when you have a break-in oil in the engine. And when you drain it, it's going to come out blue. You want to make sure that you drain all of your break-in oil when you're done with the break-in process. And the blue helps you determine that. If, when you go and you put your racing oil into the engine, you check your dipstick, if it looks like it still has blue on it, you probably didn't get all the break-in oil out of there, and you may want to consider that situation. So just to let you know, that's why this is blue. So really important to, when you're done with the break-in, get the break-in oil out of there and put your racing oil in. You're good to go at that point. Your valve train's all mated in, your piston rings are all mated in, overall engine wear is under control, and that's what we want. That's the break-in process.